everyone. It's Victoria again. We had a little technical difficulties earlier, so we're going to try this now. I'm just going to wait for Victoria Niels, our amazing co-host, to join. And I see she is on live. And we're going to talk all about autoimmune disease and its connection to fertility, answering some common questions. Super, super excited. Hey, Victoria.
Hey, here we go again.
I know. Second time's a charm, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, yes. Okay. We're going to get right into it. I'm really excited. Okay. So, Victoria Niels, just to tell you about her credentials, she is a certified holistic health coach, which is basically a combination of a health coach and a holistic nutritionist, as well as a board certified holistic practitioner and a licensed ecclesiastical holistic practitioner. I have to slow down when I read that because I want to make sure I pronounce it right.
Yeah.
But yes, she's got some amazing schooling, some amazing knowledge and wisdom that she's going to share. So I'm super excited about it. So first off, if you don't mind to kind of explain what all of that means for the layperson that doesn't know.
So the board certification is a certification that I was able to get after my initial certification, and it's with the American Drug List practitioners. So it just means that I had to be extra vetted to be able to help people drug-free. And then the licensed ecclesiastical holistic practitioner is a license that protects the client and protects me, and it's kind of like an oath that I will do things according to, basically by our understanding of God's design for our life. So once again, drugless. Not to say that drugs are bad, because of the way that I'm going to talk about the way the brain works and things like that, it can be helpful to help people calm down. But because they inhibit the beautiful design of our body and the beautiful nature that our bodies have and the innate intelligence that they're simply not meant for long term. So,
yes.
And then the coaching part and the nutritionist is, studying all things food and just the understanding that everybody is different and unique. And then the coaching part is super, super, super important, especially nowadays, because in 2020, with access to the world quite literally at our fingertips, we're in information overload, and it can be so overwhelming, almost paralyzing, to where we have too much information and then we don't do anything, or we're super confused. So coaching is really, really powerful because it helps people to be able to get transformation and quickly, because community, accountability, and personalized support is huge when it comes to transformation. And if you think about it this way, which I love this example, for instance, like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant are world-class athletes. We all know this, but yet they still have coaches, because when you're in the middle of it, when you're on the court, there's just something you won't always be able to see the big picture. So coaches are really, really powerful to be able to give you the full view of your situation, even when you're in the thick of it and you can't quite see it, So
yes, that's so good. And so so that being said, how did you choose to get into this line of work?
So I started my journey back in 2013, and I am the type of person that once I know better, I have to do better. And so it started with learning about personal care products and all of those things. And I was kind of always the go-to health person, but I really wanted to help people at a deeper level. And then it was the combination of my own symptoms, because I struggled with fatigue really, really badly. And when I finally became more aware, I was able to make the connection about how I would get super, super tired, even more than 10 years ago in high school and college, and not be able to keep my eyes open in circumstances where most people would have trouble going to sleep. I would be falling asleep at my desk, front row of class, absolutely no control over my body. And it was just kind of something normal, brushed it off like, oh, I'm just a really good sleeper. I'm just really good at sleeping, right? But definitely a warning sign, definitely my body trying to talk to me. And it was finally, you know, like years later, I had kids, and when I would be driving in the car, it really got dangerous because I couldn't keep my eyes open. I would have to call my husband no matter what time of day it was. It could be the middle of the afternoon or it could be late at night, whatever. I would say, I need you to talk to me because I cannot stay awake. Like I would try singing. I would try talking to myself. I would literally be driving and I would go like this. And I swear to you, like not even that was like enough to keep my eyes open. It was literally like I would actually have to talk to him on the phone. So
Wow.
super, super scary. But for me, that was my wake up call, and having to like schedule my day around naps, and just, it's crazy to have such little control over your body that it just takes over. It's like, I would just get the feeling, I guess the best way to describe it is like, you must lay your head down now. And it's not an option. Like, so,
Right, it's happening.
yeah.
That's
And then
awesome.
it was in my own like pursuit of health that I really discovered the autoimmune spectrum and learned that there was a spectrum, and everything that I was experiencing, from my skin issues to my excessive sweating to my mood swings and my irritability, were all just more signs. And, you know, like sleeping a full night and waking up and feeling like you got no sleep at all, like never fully rested. It was just ways that my body was communicating to me like, hey, something's up. And when I looked at the autoimmune spectrum, my symptoms were at the point to where they were super, super close. Like my risk was really high for me to develop a full-blown diagnosis. Like it had gotten to that point. So because of learning about the autoimmune spectrum and hi Phoenix, and where I was, I really wanted to bring awareness to that, to help more people to kind of understand and pay more attention to their bodies and become aware of the way that our body is communicating to us, and not to continue to brush things off as normal. And because the general consensus around autoimmunity is that it is pretty much impossible to reverse. Like most people in that situation kind of feel hopeless. So
Yes.
yeah.
That is awesome, you know, to also have a personal story that is in connection to what you're doing, because you, I'm sure, can feel people's pain. You know, it's been real to you, so you've been there.
Yeah.
So awesome. So I wanted to also ask you, how common is autoimmune disease?
It is crazy common and super, super misunderstood. So the most common, I want to say, like, if you search it on Google, the top number that comes up is like up to 23.5 million people. But I've also seen statistics that say up to 80 million people.
Wow.
So it is super, super common. And the sad part about it is because of the general health consensus that it isn't, curable or reversible. Not to mention that a lot of people who suffer with it spend a lot of times chasing their tails, like going from doctor to doctor, just trying to get a diagnosis. Like the statistic just to get an autoimmune diagnosis is an average of about 6 to 10 doctors and over 5 years. And so, you know, that's not only are you not getting answers, but because you don't know what's going on, it is really getting worse as time goes on. So it's a really, really huge issue. And the mainstream medical community really doesn't understand it. And it's not their fault. Like our medical system was built on trying to save people from like, kind of like what we're doing now, but trying to save people from different like diseases that were taking place because we had poor sanitation and things like that. But like our sanitation issues here in the United States for most people are, you know, that's not really an issue anymore, and it hasn't fully evolved. So yeah, there's still a huge gap to help people overcome that.
Right. That makes me think about, I was watching a documentary, since I'm like a health nerd, and about ham. And I've never been a huge ham person. I'll do like bacon, but like just like sliced ham on the holidays. I've never really. But anyways, like the coloring of ham, if you think about pork, like a pork roast, if you get it from Trader Joe's or somewhere that's more, a little more wholesome, or maybe an organic one or whatever, better version, it's white. It's not pink. Like a honey baked ham. And how, if you look at the history of it, the reason why they added the coloring was because of what you said, because of sanitation issues, because they said that the pigs weren't clean, like different things. And now we don't need that. And there's some countries that will not put that extra coloring in the hams because it's not needed. Like, it's just crazy. How food, and of course, I'm sure we could both go on tangents about this, but it's crazy how many things are not needed in our diet that are added just for the heck of it, or because it's always been that way. Why change it now? So yeah, that's very interesting about how common it is. So how does someone recognize the warning signs of autoimmune disease?
Recognizing the signs really takes in awareness. We have normalized all of the ways that our body is telling us, hey, something's off. So when we constantly have sinus issues that just come back over and over and over again, we normalize, like, oh, I always get this cold, I always get this flu, I always get this pain. We normalize it, but it's not normal. Your body's saying, hey, something's off here, and I really want you to pay attention so we can heal. It's not, and it doesn't even need to be something that we look at as a bad thing. We really can give new meaning to certain pains and different things like that, and understand that your body is amazing and it's built to serve you and protect you. So when it is giving you pain, when it is giving you exhaustion, it's saying, hey, because the body communicates through feeling. The way that the body communicates through feeling is actually really, 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 really strong. And that's the only way that it can get our attention. So it's really, really important to actually be thankful. Like when we get a cough, like the understanding, like my body is protecting me and it's getting whatever it needs to get out of my lungs. Or if we eat something that's not good for us and we have food poisoning, we can say, thank you, body, for helping me to regurgitate this so I don't absorb poison. Like all of these things that we have become to want to deny are built to serve us, and being able to embrace that is really, really powerful. So as far as warning signs, start to pay attention to your body, start to not mask certain things that the body wants to tell you. Like if you've got a headache, instead of just popping, something for it and the migraines or whatever, start to notice, start to observe, when am I getting this headache? What's going on? Like, what is triggering this? It's really that awareness that's so, so powerful, and not, and it's so important not to ignore it, because it's not normal, and it's meant to serve you if we view it in the way that will serve us, because that's what it's there for. So instead of like demonizing it, like, oh, I got to make this go away. Like, let me get rid of this migraine. Let me get rid of this fatigue and chug 5 cups of coffee. Like, no, like, let's just stop. Hold on. Why am I tired? What's going on here? You know? So that's really important with as far as the warning signs that the body is giving you, which is really just communication. It's really just the body talking to us. And we just have to communicate back with the right stuff, with the right information. So.
Right. That is so true. Yeah. Your body does tell you. It's like, of course, not like crazy sugar cravings, but like different cravings for things, how maybe you have a deficiency in something. So that's why you need to eat a certain thing. But yeah, someone said, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. My Ink Priority said, love it. We're saying we're too busy to worry about it. Yeah. We just get too busy. And that's not good. We have to listen. We have to stop and listen and learn to listen to what our body is telling us. So can autoimmune disease be reversed? What would you say to that? To those people that think that this is it, I have to deal with this, I have to cope with it, I have to learn how to adjust my life to live with this because it's just going to be here forever. Is it reversible?
I know that it absolutely is reversible. But if you think it isn't reversible, then it won't be reversible. And I mean, that's a huge part of it, is what you believe about it. There's a situation with the woman who got the wrong test results, and she was told that she had 6 months to live, and she died 6 months to the day. She believed that she was going to die. It was like a clear, like deep-rooted belief, like, I only have 6 months. And after she died, it was revealed that her test results were swapped with the wrong person, and there was nothing wrong with her. Belief is so powerful, and people don't, this is something where it's super, super important to wrap our heads around, because when we say, you know, like, what you focus on is important, like, we want to bypass that and say that has nothing to do with my physical body. But it's just not true. And the thing about it is it's not intentional. You're not thinking that's harmful on purpose. That's what you have to understand, because our bodies are built to protect us. And especially because they're really, really susceptible during birth. So sometimes there's birth trauma. Sometimes there's trauma from the womb. Sometimes there's childhood traumas. And then a lot of times there are ancestral traumas that weren't dealt with that are passed on. So what happens there is we can have a genetic susceptibility to be easily triggered and have a sensitivity to having like a more like negative emotional response to certain situations. So when I say the word trauma, I know sometimes people really think like really big traumas, like a death or something really, really horrible happening. But sometimes it can be as simple as a poor relationship in the home or witnessing a negative relationship in the home. And it comes down to how we were able to respond to it and how sensitive we were like as children and how that affected us. So for instance, like if our mom had a really stressful labor, actually this is something that I've learned about my kiddo, because I actually did have a pretty stressful pregnancy with my first, and now not now, it's gotten better, but her like panic response, like her response to little everyday things, like her frustration with, I can't tie my shoe, that is a fight or flight or freeze response that's going on in the amygdala. And for her, it's been like really, really panicking. So the fight, flight, or freeze is like, it was developed as part of our bodies and as a way to protect us. Like, hey, you need to react. Like if you're being chased by a tiger in the jungle, like back when that was an issue. But the way that we have evolved is that fight, flight, or freeze response is being activated in these little seemingly small moments, whether it's like just scrolling on social media or being frustrated because we can't find our keys. And it creates this stress cycle in the body, and then it messes with the stress hormones. And once that cycle, which this cycle is set off by our emotional response, and the emotional response is not your fault. You're not the one controlling your emotional response. Nobody intentionally wants to get really, 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 really upset just driving in traffic. Nobody intentionally wants to get really, really, really upset just scrolling on social media or just going to work and all these little things. But it's the unconscious programming that's controlling it that is creating the sensitive response and the poor response to these everyday situations, activating that fight, flight, or freeze response in the brain, which that response being constantly triggered over and over and over again and not having an ability to calm it down releases all of these hormones into the body and really, really messes it up. And that's what opens the door, breaks down the body's defenses to be vulnerable to thyroid issues, to infertility, and that's what opens the door to it. But it's not intentional. But when we understand that this is what's causing it, it's really powerful. And people, you are able to reverse it because you understand, like, I'm not doing this intentionally. Like, this is how, you know, my body's created this sort of response to protect me from a potentially like toxic parent or boss or whatever it may be. And now I have this certain coping mechanism, and now my brain fires off like this. And the cycle is stuck, but it can become unstuck. But it's not conscious and it's not intentional. And we have to understand that, but that's how it can be reversed. And then it's addressing those imbalances. It's addressing the infections that the body becomes vulnerable to, and the toxins and the other trapped emotions and like parasites and different things like that the body, and nutritional deficiencies and sensitivities and all of that. But it's, if we don't ever take care of the root, which is that stress response and our emotional triggers, that's setting off this cycle that just breaks down the innate intelligence within our body, because our body does have innate intelligence. Like, you never have to, a lot of times we like to take credit for our thoughts, but it's the unconscious that's controlling the mind, and that controls the body. It manifests itself physically. Like, we know this. Like, you know, if someone calls you to the front of the stage and you have to public speak, all of a sudden your heart's going to race. And that physical response was a result of a thought.
Right.
Right? But maybe that thought and that response came from some deep-seated belief that, like, maybe I'll be judged if I don't say this the right way or whatever. But it's that underlying belief that we have to reverse, because that's what's controlling the thought, which is controlling the physical response and the physical manifestation. Like, for instance, you know, just kids being, you know, stressed about a test, right? You're sweating, like, you're just like thinking about it and you're sweating. Like that, it's going from here and then it's showing up here. And people have a hard time believing it, but it's what's happening. And when we understand that, we understand, like, wow, I can get mindful. I can pay attention. I can heal my triggers without reliving the trauma, because if we relive the trauma, that just reinforces more negative patterns. Which is why people can end up in therapy for decades, because it's just, when you have to keep talking about it, a lot of times it's just reinforcing those negative patterns. So you don't have to relive the trauma to heal from it. But awareness is really, really huge, because we can have these coping mechanisms. Like, I realized that in my business, like, for instance, when I would need to sit down to do stuff, to work on my business, all of a sudden I would really need a snack. It's like, why am I snacking? Like suddenly I'm hungry. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here that's causing me to, you know what I mean? Like, come up with some sort of distraction when I really not only want to be doing something else, but need to be doing something else. Like, we're just develop all these coping mechanisms. Being busy. We glorify being busy. Yes. We're too busy to sit down and, like, sit with ourselves. And so this coping mechanism, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. But when we become aware, we literally transform, and we heal from the inside out. And when we only focus on, okay, let me hear the parasite. Let me see what's going on with my uterus. Let me check, and let's just pump more hormones. When we do all of these things that suppress the body, which is in a lot of ways, like medication suppresses the body, supplements can suppress the body. If we're taking antioxidants, our body is meant to be able to produce those. We can give the body signals with certain things that, like, hey, you don't need to produce this. You're supplementing with it. So there's a lot of things that we do that inhibit the body's functions, and it's really truly getting back to doing all of the things that support the body's innate intelligence, that helps you breathe, helps your heart pump, helps you heal after you cut yourself. The body knows what to do, and we have to we just support it properly at the real root of what's going on in order to do so. So focusing less on the superficial stuff, which is important. Yes, we need to eat right, but it can also become a distraction in a way. I've been there where I like glorified it and worshiped it, but it just wasn't enough. It can become an obsession and a distraction that still keeps us from the inner healing that still needs to be done. Because if you're eating right and you're still, and you know what I mean, and you're feeling a little bit better, but you still are triggered every time you, for me, it used to be my mom. Every time I saw my mom, like, talk about angry coming out. I don't know where that was, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like if you're still, you can eat all the things. So we need to redefine healthy. Healthy is not on paper what everybody thinks it is. We think it's like, oh, you look this size, you eat like this, you exercise like this, and we really don't know what's going on a deeper level and internally. And that's what's true health. If you aren't able to experience peace and love and joy, which is all of ours true nature, when we're trying to cope with little different things, that's what we're essentially after, right? We're like, this tub of ice cream is going to give me peace. I feel loved when I cozy up in this blanket and watch Netflix. Like, but they can be distractions. So yeah, that was a big part of my healing journey, was like kind of like turning off social media for a little bit, completely quitting television and all of that things. It really helped me to heal, and by getting rid of the distractions. So
yes, that is also true. Being healthy is not just about what you look like. I was talking to someone, I think one of my preferred clients actually earlier, about how, you know, there's a lot of people that are thin or got to have the abs, have the whatever, the banging body, and are sick in their mind, physically sick. Maybe they have some type of disease or ailment or something that's keeping them down. And it's so powerful. Your thoughts are so powerful. That self-talk, you have to stop it. You have to speak to it. You have to change your mind and think of something else to replace that negative. Because if not, you'll dwell in that. And what you dwell in and what you focus on grows. So either you're going to grow in the positive or you're going to grow in the negative. And it is so important. I absolutely agree with everything that you said. So tell me a little bit more about what you know about the connection to autoimmune disease and infertility, or, you know, the like.
So the way that I say this is because of the understanding of the body and how things manifest themselves. What's happening when there's autoimmune issues and infertility is, it's simply the stored trauma being stored in like that certain area of the body, and it, for some reason, is specifically hindering the function of that organ. And a lot of times, because it has to do with like the female organs of the body, sometimes it can be like some conflict around, it's so many things, but it's like a lot of times, because the body knows, a lot of times we think we can put on a fake smile and pretend that everything's okay, but the body really knows. And there's actually a book called The Body Keeps Score, because the body does, and the body cannot be deceived in that way. So even if we think that we've just like bypassed something, it's still stored. So if it's related to infertility, it could be maybe some issues around like, do I, even though I want this, do I really feel safe in this role? Did I feel safe around like women figures in my life before? And especially with autoimmunity, what's happening are the cells are attacking. So the cells that are meant to like help give you life are now attacking. So in some cases, it's like, are there areas within myself where I'm attacking myself, and now that has manifested itself physically? Are there some areas unhealed where I felt like somebody who was supposed to give me love was attacking me, whether it was verbally, whether it was just with not showing love, whether it was putting, kind of like circumstances on giving love, like, oh, my love is based on your performance and different things, like whatever it is, basically what it is it's an internal conflict that's just specifically manifesting itself in that area. But a lot of times with autoimmunity, it is the main things that I have seen is abusive relationships, especially when it gets worse. So this cycle has already been there, but certain situations really trigger. When I speak to women, they say my symptoms really got worse when I was in this extremely narcissistic relationship. My husband was abusive, or I had a really traumatic birth. Like, they can always pinpoint back to, like, I have had, whether it was super obvious, like I said, or whether it was just the body's reaction to it. It's just different triggers that sets it off. But most of the time women can recall a specific event, like, oh, I was working nonstop when this happened, or I was really stressed out at my job. Like, it just gets to a point where the capacity and the threshold for our body to handle it emotionally, because what's happening is the thought patterns create neurotransmitters. If anybody wants to look up the function of neurotransmitters and how that affects the body as a whole. But it's those thoughts that create those patterns, and they're going to be either negative or positive, and they affect our organs. Like, that's just it. And there's no shame in this. Like, when we accept this, it's really powerful, because it's instead of saying, especially because I know you and I are both believers, and a lot of times we can have, like, the common conception, which can keep people stuck, is the belief that, like, only God can heal me. And that can underserve when we say only God can heal me. Like, God is, like, up there choosing, like, oh, you get to be healed, you don't get to be healed. Like, I'm just gonna, like, maybe choose you and maybe not choose you, and you maybe get a kid, and you might get a kid 10 years from now. And when we believe it's, like, random and he's controlling like that, when we understand that he actually built our bodies with this innate intelligence, and that it is for us, he is for us, nature is for us, we are all connected, and that this, whatever we're struggling with in our bodies, especially if it's infertility, is an opportunity to heal. And we don't have to give it the meaning of this is catastrophic. We can give it a new meaning and say, how can I learn from this? How can I grow for this? And what's been really powerful in my journey with my health is, because I have kids, I'm like, now that I've gone through this, now that I understand this emotional resiliency, now that I understand what it takes to heal from the inside out, my kids get that gift of not having to struggle through this on their own. And that, to me, is priceless. So when we can look at opportunities like this to say, everything is for me. God is for me. He created me. He made, like, there's a statistic that shows that every single person that is born, there is a 101 in 400 trillion chance that you will be born, based on your parents meeting and getting together and staying together long enough to have you, and all those different things. It's like, you are already a miracle. You're already amazing. So if you go with that inner knowing that even though the world has tried to define, oh, there's an illness or there's a diagnosis, and that is bad, that means, oh my gosh, like, we go with shame, or like, what did I do to cause this, and all these different things. You didn't do anything to cause this. Your body is for you, and God is for you. So let's look at this as, how can I grow from this? How is this meant to serve me? And it's important because, like I talked about earlier, I have a business mentor. He says, like, you can't grow muscle if there's no tension. Like, these opportunities of tension that are hard are an opportunity to grow. Because if we only pick up 2-pound weights for 30 years, we're never gonna, like, we're never gonna get stronger. So it's really powerful to give situations and challenges that we go through, especially in our health, new meaning. And I believe that's also how a coach can be really powerful, because, like I talked about with you know, Michael Jordan and like professional basketball players, when you're in the middle of that pain, when you're in the middle of that heartache, it can be hard to remember this. It can be hard to see the big picture. It can be hard to see, oh my God, how this is an opportunity for healing, how this is actually for your good, how this doesn't have to be catastrophic if I don't make it mean that it's catastrophic. So that's where coaching can be really powerful, to keep your eye on the ball, so that there's no. So, anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's everything that you said is so good. Gosh, I don't even know how to respond. But I love that about the trauma and how that can impact you. And I think, especially if you think about just generational trauma and all the things, like there's like no way for us to have healed that or take steps to heal that, especially if we weren't around. I mean, we weren't thought about back then. I mean, God thought about us, but I mean, we didn't know we were going to come into being. I mean, so that's just so beyond amazing. But I wanted to also ask you, and just a couple more questions, what advice would you give to someone that's experiencing some of the warning signs that you mentioned? Maybe they have extreme fatigue. Maybe they are having migraines or the aches and pains and what is becoming normalized. And I love that you mentioned that, to reiterate, because just one of my books in class talks about how I honestly feel like God gave me a revelation about allergies right before, hi cutie, right before I went into my next chapter. And he talked about, and well, first off, I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't really believe that you have to deal with allergies. I just felt like that was something that God gave me. And this is something that we can prevent, but we feel like seasonal allergies are things that we just deal with every year. Oh, we just have to deal with this. You know, it's going to happen every summer, but that is a lie. And that's just something that we believe. And maybe that allergy is based on foods that I'm eating. And maybe during a certain time of the year, it flares up or whatever, but we don't have to stay in that and accept it. And I love that you address that, because that is so true. You do not have to accept these things, and we don't have to normalize these things because they're not normal. We don't come out of the womb with these, having all these seasonal allergies and stuff and, you know, whatever, but I won't get on my tangent. But anyway, so to go back, what advice do you give to someone that is experiencing some of the warning signs of autoimmune disease? And maybe they're not severe yet, or maybe they are and they need some help, but where do they go? What advice do you have?
So here's the thing that I forgot to say earlier when we did this, but oh my gosh, turn off the news.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that, but literally, like the news and social media, that can seriously raise your stress levels. And we need to calm that down. Like that inner calm is so powerful.
So good
for our health. And I would say something that's also really powerful is activating the vagus nerve daily. So, and make this a family thing. If you have family, do it with your husband, do it with your kids. Make it a daily practice, because the vagus nerve, it's in your head. It's connected with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic part of your brain that is responsible, the amygdala, that's responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze response, that cycle. Because the stress, if we have an emotional trigger stress cycle, it should be over in about 20 minutes. But for a lot of people, it lasts up to 48 hours. So those stress hormones are just cycling, breaking down the body's defenses. So it's actually been linked. Like if people kept track of like their arguments or every time they got really, really mad, usually within 10 days, sometimes they get like they're sneezing, they've got a cough. If anybody wanted to keep track of that, you don't have to, but the connection there, I mean, it's there. But so understanding the vagus nerve, this is really, really powerful. One of the best daily practices, especially if you're, don't have any full-blown autoimmunity and you just got symptoms. This is one of the best things you can do for yourself. So a lot of people take like ice cold baths or like cold showers, but you can start with just putting like cold water on your face, because the cold is really good for activating the vagus nerve. Also, for instance, if you have little ones, so what I do with my 2-year-old, because he doesn't quite understand the concept of deep breathing and breath work where we breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out. So we do humming. Humming and singing is actually really, really activates the vagus nerve. It's why we feel good when we're like dancing and singing. Movement does too. But I do humming with my 2-year-old, and it's especially powerful. And this is a lesson that I really, really learned is kids are still learning this emotional resiliency. They don't quite connect to it like adults can. So if you have a child that's like having a temper tantrum, it's really amazing because they're not in a place where they can be resourceful. So it's really powerful to be able to like hold them and you stay calm. And I'll stay calm and I like hug my 2-year-old and he calms down. It's amazing. And then he'll start humming with me. And it's really, really beautiful to see the impact of how I've come from, because I haven't always been a calm mom. Like I've been like, go away. Oh my God, you're loud. My ears. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes it worse, right? But that's what we do when we have our own stuff going on. But when we stay calm, oh my gosh, then they get calm. And it also teaches them, even when they're like still a little fired up, it teaches them and they learn how to gain that emotional resiliency. And then, so breath work, a lot of people do meditation, which is great, but meditation is a little slower. Breath work has been proven to have a much, much quicker effect. So there's all different sorts of breath works you can do. You can look up like Wim Hof, or you can look up some other people on YouTube, but it's essentially you breathe in through your nose, hold it. You can do like 4, some people do like 4, 7, 8 or 5, 5, 5, but breathe in, hold it, and then let it out. And you want to make sure you have a good amount of space. So 5-second hold, or breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and then release for 5 seconds. And it's that long time within breaths that calms down the brain, which is why like when you're panicky and like that is activating the stress response. So the slower breaths are really, really powerful, like really powerful. So looking up so those are just some suggestions, but looking up different ways to activate your vagus nerve and making that a daily practice in the morning, in the evening is life-changing, because that brings in that mindfulness and it helps you to become calm all day long. You're gonna be breathing all day long. You're gonna be so calm. Nobody's gonna get to you. It's the most beautiful thing when you're at peace and you no longer have to suffer from all the things that you used to suffer from, and you're like in this place. And that's why I love what I do, because I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like I want more people to normalize peace, because it's so possible. And like peace is for you. It's your birthright, right? Like
that's right.
So that is that's what we are seeking when we drink a glass of wine after we've had a stressful day, is peace. That's what we're seeking when we put on Netflix and chill for 4 hours, peace. But there's a whole new way to get it. That's way more calming and better for us overall. So,
and that's so good and so practical, because I mean, I'll be honest, for me, meditation is so hard. That's like something that I've been trying to do, but it's hard for me to like sit there and try to focus on one thing or quiet my mind for one thing. It's of course a lot easier if I start like with prayer and then try to do it, but it's hard. But like deep breaths, activating the vagus nerve, I've never heard of that. That's awesome. I was taking some notes as you were talking. I'm going to be doing these things. That's absolutely amazing. So a couple more questions as we end. Everything has
gratitude. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That is another thing that's so powerful, is I started with simply, like when I really started turning around my list or my life and my health, I started with a checklist of things. And I had to remind myself, be grateful today and write it down, because we've all been there. We're all on our journeys. We've all been like so negative, down in the dumps, down to our, like, I mean, hateful. I've been there, right? Yeah. And so getting to a place where I was like, I'm gonna be grateful, come up with 5 things I'm grateful for every day, and then it transforms your life, and then you're grateful all day long. And then you're driving down traffic and you're able to like be like, I'm so glad I get to listen to this song a little bit longer, versus like, hurry up.
Right. That's so true.
It's life-changing, and that rewires your brain. So also,
no, you're good.
I was gonna say, I mean, there's so many people that do like research on this, but like Dr. Joe Dispenza studies like the brain and the heart connection and everything, But I feel like the biggest thing that's so helpful is just kind of undoing everything that we've been taught around, feeling shame and all of that. And something I really want to mention that's super important is when we really, really know that the body is for us, especially with like kids and crying, which is a huge one, is the body has trauma cycles. And when we're crying, whether we're an adult or a child, that's the body's way of releasing. And so when we stop a child from crying, or when we force ourselves from crying because we feel like it's an embarrassment and society has made it shameful, that whatever our body is trying to release from those tears, because we can't really control, like, it's hard to control our tears. They just come, right? Because they're meant to serve us, because our body is intelligent. So allowing that process to fully complete without interrupting it, being able to embrace your child and give them a hug versus stop crying, being able to say it is okay versus dragging them out of a store. Because when we know this, we can be confident in, like, you know what, that judgy mom over there may not understand that crying right now is actually the best thing that I can do for my child, because it's not going to get trapped in their body and then re-triggered over and over and over again later. Then you'll just go about your business and be like, okay, honey, I got you. We're not going to be reliving this trauma later. You just cry it out. Let it go. So yeah, same thing with if someone's hyperventilating, that's a trauma cycle too. It really just is an understanding of acceptance that everything is for you and going with the flow of life and from a place of love. That's our true nature, right? We want to love. We love our parents. We love our spouses. We love our kids. We love our dogs. Like, love is who we are. Love is who we want to be. So when we do things from a place of love versus shame and guilt, it's transformative, because shame and guilt create patterns in the body that break it down, and love restores. So that's
that is so good. Wow. Okay, there's so much to like digest. Okay, so in closing, and thank you for everything that you've shared. That's like so much wisdom and just knowledge, and I'm gonna share this with some people, because people came to mind too, that I think this would be very, very impactful for. So I like to try to end with like a fun fact. So what would you say that your fun fact is?
My fun fact is, well, I'm an only child, so I've always wanted a huge family. I'm like, I want 6 kids. Now, I mean, I might want 10. We'll see. But but I also really, because I am like, I love putting on makeup every day. I love my heels. I love to dress up. Like, my husband would be like, where are you going? And I'm like, to sit down at my desk and work. Like, it's just a day. So I love to dress up, but I really do want to build a house on land and do the homesteading, like farm lifestyle with some chickens and some goats and a garden and all that fun stuff. So I feel like that's not like what people would usually think about me, but it's something that definitely looking forward to happening. And then my mom's a twin, so that's still a dream of mine. I'm still believing for twins one day. So we'll see. We're at the point where my husband is on board. Like, he would have more kids, but he wants to foster and adopt, because he's like, don't give me that newborn phase ever again. So we'll see.
Right. You have to work on him a little bit. That sounds so amazing. I've always said, like, to have your own garden or something is almost like to have a little piece of heaven on earth. You know, it's a cool thing to be able to grow your own food and all that. Yeah. So best of luck with that. I'll have to come visit.
I know.
Yes.
We're so far away.
No, it's crazy. Yes, but one of these days, if COVID wouldn't have been a thing, we were actually planning to come to Oklahoma, so we would have been able to see each other. But, sometime soon. But yes, thank you so much, Victoria. That was just so amazing, powerful, just like Brittany said, she's commenting. So before we close, where can people find you? How can they reach out to you? Maybe they're interested in maybe even potentially being one of your clients. How can they find you? Where do they go?
So I have a link in my bio. If you're already like oh my gosh, I totally would be interested in working with her. I have a link where you can book a call with me, and the calls are free. And we basically what we do on the calls is we talk about where you are in your health, where we want to go, and what it's going to take to fill that gap. And if I feel like I'm best suited to help you fill that gap quickly, then I make an offer to be welcomed into my program, or other if not, then I point you in a different direction, because I am pretty biased and protective um, over the program, and I want to maintain a certain level of success. So I don't want to welcome anybody in who's not a right fit. So we either make sure you're the right fit or get you in the direction of another way, because I do know a lot of amazing coaches. And then I also have in my link tree, in my bio, there is a training. It's called 5 Shifts to Reverse Autoimmune Symptoms Naturally. And so you can watch that training if you'd like. And then I also have a link to my Facebook group. But usually the most, and there's videos and different things where I talk about this more in my Facebook group. But there's also really good information in the training. So it's probably my favorite because it's the most like focused. Whereas the Facebook group has a ton of videos, and you may just, once again, it can become like information overload. And if you don't want just more information, you want transformation, then the training is the next best step. So.
Gotcha. Well, that is absolutely perfect. I will be linking Victoria's information, her account. So if you can go to her profile, follow her, get the information to share, join her Facebook group, all those things. So yes, thank you so much. And thank you to all that watched the replay. And for those that joined us live, it will be available soon. I'm about to repost it right after this. So, thank you so much. But stay on for a second, because I'm going to share with you a couple product deals and things we have going on for the rest of the night. So thank you so much, Victoria, for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. I'm thankful for you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good night.
Let's see.
Okay. Well, thank you all again so much for joining me. This is a every week thing, and I'm thinking maybe I'll move to the evening. So maybe comment to let me know if you think that the evenings at like 8 o'clock are better for you. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll put a poll up in my Instagram stories after this. But I just wanted to show you really quick some products that are amazing that are available now. So the first one that I wanted to share with you is the pumpkin spice protein. It's limited edition. If you're a pumpkin spice girl or guy, get your hands on this, because once it's gone, it's gone. The second one I wanted to show you is our coffee protein. It came out around Black Friday. It's so delicious, y'all. It's 35 milligrams of plant-based caffeine from the coffee bean before it is roasted, before it is brewed, which is what makes it acidic. So if you're familiar with our 30 days program, you actually can't have coffee. And that's because of the acid and just its negative effects on our body and our gut health. But this has no acid, and you get the plant-based caffeine plus 20 grams of vegan protein in either one per serving. So it's amazing. And like, if you look at the list on the back, it's crazy. I'll actually take these photos off so you can see. Look how long this list is. This is all vitamins and minerals in the protein. It's awesome. So those two are available for an amazing discount. I was actually sipping in my little cup on some herbal detox tea and a packet of our spice cider punch fizz, which is so delicious. It tastes so good in the tea. So I love that as a little tizzy is what we call it. But yes, this is also plant-based caffeine, 55 milligrams of plant-based caffeine without the crash, without the acid, without all the sugar. You're going to get some amazing vitamins and minerals for your brain function. You're going to get a B vitamin complex, CoQ10, coenzyme Q10 for your brain function as well. All these are available for a limited time. And then today, since it is Cyber Monday, we have some cool specials. So we have the blood orange fizz, which is actually my favorite. Comes in a box just like this, 30 servings, just like the other fizz. It's only available until it sells out. And this is a limited edition fizz that does not come around. I'm surprised that they brought it back, actually. So get your hands on it. Let me know if you want to get your hands on a box, if you want to try it. Everything is 45-day money-back guarantee, so that's great as well. The second thing that launched today was this beautiful palette. I ordered one this morning. I can't wait to get it. It is a palette for your eyes, your cheeks. It has bronzer. It also has a dual lip gloss, and they're all pretty much universal. So any skin tone should be able to wear them. But again, if you don't like it or whatever, you can return it and get your money back. And then the last thing that launched today is this pretty glass mug with a silicone top and like a cork koozie, if you will. That's also paired with our spiced rooibos tea. I can't say much about this. I've heard it is great and it's new, so I'm sure it'll taste great. It has hints of cinnamon and nutmeg in the tea. As I mentioned, it's also limited edition. So yes, if you want to get your hands on any of those things, please let me know. Until midnight, we have free sign up with qualifying orders for preferred clients and independent consultants. So as a PC, that looks like saving that $29 enrollment fee, free shipping. They're going to add a gift to your account with that qualifying order. Plus, you're going to get a free full-size gift from me. That's equivalent to about $120 that you'd have to spend to get all those free perks. But that's discounts for the year. No auto ships required. No order fulfillment required. Anything like that. You order when you want, if you want. And if anything, you're going to get a great discount for the year. So yes, let me know if you have any questions about anything at all. Of course, no strings attached. And then I also wanted to say that everything that we share is just based on our knowledge, based on, I guess, our expertise and our passions. We're not doctors. We're not medical doctors. So we're not making any claims or any promises about anything that was discussed. But yes, feel free to reach out to Victoria. I will repost this live as soon as I get off of here, because I don't want to lose it, like what happened earlier. But yes, let me know if y'all have any questions about anything. Next week, we're going to have a great guest, so stay tuned for that. And of course, thank you for joining me for your weekly wellness dose from Monday's Muse. Hope y'all have a great night. Thanks again. Watch the replay. Please share with your friends. All right. Have a good night. Bye.